A lot of times it's not like full conversations. It'll be like us driving around and she'll point out a spot of being like, I used to sleep here, I used to do this here. And it's really incredible to see where she is now having like her own apartment, her own space, being very successful in what she's doing.
I mean, I know that she had a struggle and that she was on the streets for a little bit and, you know, the story with her addiction and all that stuff. So I know that. She's grown tremendously from it, and that's what gives her this sense of power and like fearlessness that she has, is she can walk into a room and own that room because she knows what it's like to be at the bottom.
My mother was 15 when she had me. My father was 18. And my mother was so in love with my father. And I think my dad was just, I don't want to say that he wasn't in love with my mom, but I think that it was more of, the attraction was definitely infatuation on my mother's side. And she was rebellious. She got pregnant with me when she was a very young child, and I think thought the idea of having me would make him stay with her. But I know that she desperately loved him, and I know that I was born out of that need and that desire for love. I think that my mother's desire and yearning for love cycled into my life, always seeking and searching out love. I wanted to be happy. I thought happiness was developed through the things that you had accomplished and what you had accumulated. And that's scary, because none of that is true. Happiness and success, I feel like, are one and the same thing. I feel like being successful is determined based on how happy you are. Because sometimes you don't accomplish a lot, but if you're happy, you feel like you're successful. In my world, now. I used to accomplish a lot of things, but I was miserable, so I never felt like successful. I never felt like I was achieving anything or accomplishing anything. So, I seek happiness now.
When she really started to tell me about the peak of everything in her life was great, and she was financially secure, and she was doing what she loved, to the sort of nosedive that came from getting addicted and winding up on the street, I had never really been close with somebody who had such a big fall.
Yeah, I would say drugs are a pretty big part of the gay community. I don't think that growing up as a queer kid, there was really any guidance on like how to flirt or how to like, we didn't really have places to go out, or we didn't really have, if we had a crush, we had to hide it. The only place to socialize with other gay men were in like sex clubs. So sex and being under the influence of something kind of went hand in hand from the start.
I think part of the reason why I always wanted to get fucked up was because I didn't really know much about my life. I didn't know about who I was. I was constantly searching and constantly seeking out who I was. No one who is homeless ever dreamt as a child of being homeless. It's something that just happens. I was so petrified and so scared that this had actually happened and had actually taken place that I had nowhere to go. And then when I started realizing why I had nowhere to go, because of the person I was. I had a lot of hopes and dreams as a child, and through addiction, I learned how to behave differently. So I started changing my goals to meet my behavior. And when I got sober, I started changing my behavior to meet my goals. And that's the difference.
So this was my corner. And I used to curl up right here because this was my headrest, and I would lay right here and I would sleep because it was nice and cold. I had like a makeshift pillow, which is crazy, but this is comfortable for me. It's crazy. It's just a park. And probably more endearing and more special to me that I have gone through what I've gone through here, and that I made it back, and that I'm able to see it in a different light. That's probably the coolest thing, is that I get to come here now and say, I remember when. You know, there are a lot of people. I just lost somebody on Wednesday from an overdose that I got sober with who didn't make it. I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm one of the ones that made it out, and I never have to go back unless I choose to. And I'll never go back. I'll never go back. My life is so good. Everything that I've ever wanted is either happening, has happened, or is about to happen. I am embarking on all of that right now, and the possibilities are endless. Where it goes from here is, it's all just a bonus. Not every homeless person is aggressive. Not every homeless person wants $1 from you. Sometimes people just want to be able to know that they exist and look into your eyes and be able to say hello back to somebody. You know, I think that even though I had no shelter above my head and I had no real group of people that I hung out with, I went for days without speaking to another human being. I went for days without somebody looking back at me and recognizing me as a human being. And so the times when another human being would look at me and say, hey, how are you? That felt new. And it felt like something I wanted more of. That's the moment it all changed for me, was the moment that somebody looked at me and said, hey, how are you? Do you mind if I ask you a question? How did you get into this situation? How did you get into this place? I realized I wasn't invisible. I realized that there was somebody there that could see me and see where I was at. And I knew at that moment that I was the only one that was going to be able to take myself out of this situation. But it hadn't dawned on me until then that I even mattered, until that person talked to me. So sometimes it's just a matter of like, you never know the difference you're going to make in somebody's life. And it was just that tiny moment of God-given kindness that somebody gave me that has now transpired into me being able to give that to other people.
For all of the difficulties that she's had to go through, it's pretty crazy that she's been able to work herself like from the street to like, you know, all the things that she's going to be doing next year. I don't know that like I could have done that. I think like from my understanding of homelessness, even now, like understanding it through 6, most people don't get off the street.
now you're sober and
Yeah.
thriving,
Man.
living
So
your
are
life.
you.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing though. We were I don't know, I feel like for me, I was really afraid of success
Yes.
because I wasn't ready mentally for it. Now I'm really ready for it, but I wasn't physically prepared for it then. I couldn't have, no matter how much I could have been prepared for it mentally, I wasn't physically, because I was physically dependent on other things. But I think now I'm physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally ready for whatever's coming. I'm just ready for whatever is next. And you're doing the same thing.
And I feel like too, this sobriety for me is a lot more honest than it was when the first time around.
Why?
I am being more true to myself and like doing what makes me happy as opposed to like what I think is going to make other people happy.
So you stopped listening to the sounds in the room and started
Yeah.
listening to the voice in the head.
And I mean, when you first said that you were going to do drag, I knew that drag was a part of your history and a part of your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew you had showed me pictures and I was like, wow. But when you told me, I was like, that's what you need to do. Like, I was like, it's a relief that you're finally doing something that you love doing so much. And you spent so much time making other people beautiful. I was like, finally, like, you're going to do it for yourself. And then I saw you. Well, I didn't even know that she was going to come and drag. And so I'm sleeping and I get a knock on the door at 3 a.m. and she's in these 10-inch heels, hair laid, makeup. I was like, who the fuck is this? And I was like, oh my God, Jeremy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I saw you for the first time and it was you. Like, you had this, and I've told you this a million times, it was you. Like, you had this sense of confidence. You had this sense of like being okay in your skin. Even though you had drag on, I could see you for the first time. And that was like, I feel like when your journey with this kind of really started.
I definitely believe that there is luck and there is fate driven by higher power. And for me, my higher power has blessed me and given me a lot of really good fortune. Looking back at my old self, did I love that person? Yes, I loved him at the capacity that he was capable of loving at that time. I think now, looking back, I realize just how lost that character was. That person was so lost and so wanting to know what love was. And I think the difference between that person then and the person you're looking at now is I know what love is. And I know that it's not something that comes across on a big screen and looks like any specific thing. I know love is a feeling and is something you would die for. It is something you would go to any end of the earth for, and it is something that you will let go in a heartbeat at the sake of losing yourself.
I really think Six was put here on this earth to help other people.
She's been through a lot in her life, and so I think that through that, she's gotten this sense of energy that she can detect in people immediately. So she says things sometimes, and I wonder if she can like read my mind because it's so on point, and it's just so, it's like what I'm feeling. And I think that's just her gift that she has.
Oh, God, if I could go back 25 years and be this person again, knowing what I know now, you couldn't tell me shit. But I don't think I really knew how to love myself. until I was nothing. And then when I realized that I could do all of this stuff by myself, I could do everything, I could become everything that I've ever wanted to become, in just a thought, in just a moment. I could become everything I've ever wanted to be. And all I had to do was just get up. I just had to fucking get up.